Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. This is Success with Srini.
One of the challenges that I have fought for a very long time personally, and also I've seen many coaches, mentors, therapists who are in similar line of profession, they have faced and they're continuing to face is, how do we keep our subject's mind in a proper state? How do we keep it in a state where our solutions, our strategies work beyond the time we have with them? Huge, big challenge. And this has been addressed multiple times before. And this has been on for a long time. Every time, you also know this. And I've gotten this question also from multiple people, which is, how do we keep our mind happier? How do we get into a state, a mind state where we feel happy and we stay there for a long time? Difficult to stay there for a long time, but then that is what everybody wants. And that is what I want as a coach, as a mentor, is every time a client walks away or once I'm done coaching someone, I want them to have a mind state where my solution, my technique, my strategy that I'm sharing with them is going to work. Because you need to have that environment. Difficult to create that environment because once people leave you, you are not controlling the environment. Somebody else is. I have no idea what people walk into outside of the conversation that I'm having with them. Very difficult to do it. This has been a challenge for a long time. So I wanted to kind of address this issue on the podcast today. So thank you for tuning in. Happy Friday morning to you as I'm recording this. So this has been addressed by legendary hypnotherapist Milton Erickson back in 60s, 70s, 80s. He used to use a technique called cueing. He used to give a cue to his clients so that every time they use this cue outside when they're alone, they get into that same hypnotic state. Since then, this has been modeled into NLP, and the credit goes to many NLP experts who have contributed to this idea. And now we have what is called anchors in NLP. And anchor it's a simple concept. You see, all of us, you, me, we have good memories, we have bad memories. And every time, if I ask you to go to a childhood memory that you have, a good memory you have, you may struggle to go back to a childhood memory, or a college memory, or your dating memory, whatever you have. It's very difficult for you to go back to it. But what if I play you a song of that time? What if I play you a piece of music, or I show you a movie, or something like that? Now you have a reference. The mind has a reference. So that's why we say music encapsulates time. So if I play you a song from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s or 90s, you'll go back in time and you remember where you were, where you heard that song for the very first time, and you bring back all those memories, good or bad. Subjective, but hopefully good. But you can bring them back, and music is one of the senses. Likewise, with some smell, you can bring back a few memories. With taste, you can bring back some memories. So all these are anchored into us. All this is there in us. You know, we as humans, we are all stimulated by the environment. So there are things that stimulate us. We can stimulate ourselves deliberately. You know, we can bring back a certain memory into our mind, a certain experience into our mind by simply stimulating ourselves. And stimuli has played a big role all along, ever since we were born. So this is how we are programmed, and this is how the programming has been. So if you take that concept that there are senses that can be used to activate certain memories, and those memories can be brought into the active mind, and you can relive that happy moment that happened to you many years ago. So here is the strategy. This is how this is going to play out. In 3 steps, you can bring back anything that happened to you in the past, kind of bring it back into your current situation and feel good about yourself. So ideally, go back in time to a moment or to an event and bring it back, fill your mind with that event and feel good about yourself. So now suddenly you become happy. So your mood is low, you're unhappy, not feeling good about yourself. All you have to do is bring a memory from the past, fill your mind and relive that moment so that you feel happier. So 3 steps to this. Step number 1, think of the state that you want to get into. Very simple. What state you want to get into. Number 2, you recall a memory from the past that you know can create, or you experienced it in the past, that you know that you can, using which you can create whatever state you want to get into. Bring it back, fill your mind, and you start living in it. So in a way, you're reviving it. So the way you revive is, you smell as this event is filling your mind, you see yourself in that event. Let's say I'm going back in time to an event that happened to me in 1980. Maybe July 1st of 1980. I'm just making up the day. I go back in time on that day. That afternoon was the most incredible afternoon for me because, we were having a celebration in the house. I see myself, that whole event playing out. I can smell the air. I can see the lights. I can see the people. I can see the nature outside. Literally, I'm feeling all the sensations the way I felt at that point in time right now by placing myself in that event. So I'm stimulating myself, bringing all of this. So I'm just by using this simple 3 steps technique, I'm modifying my internal state. A lot of research has gone into this. A lot of people who have contributed into this concept, and I was mentioning that earlier. Now, what you can do is, let's say you are in the middle of a crowd. Let's say you're in a meeting, you're surrounded by people, you're busy, you're driving, you're flying, whatever you're doing. You can code this whole event into a finger, into your hand, into your shoulder. And all you have to do is simply touch that finger. Let's say I code this whole event into my index finger. All I have to do is just touch my index finger. And suddenly this whole event comes into my mind because this whole event is anchored into my index finger on my right hand. So I touch my right hand, index finger. All this comes into my mind automatically. And now I feel good about myself. So I've used these anchors throughout my fingers, throughout my hands. I mentioned this earlier a few weeks ago on one of the podcasts. But this is how you change your mind state. Now, as I said, the reason why you change your mind state is because in a bad mind state, none of the good solutions work. Many times people say, I followed exactly what you told me to do, but somehow it did not work. It's very simple. The reason why it did not work is because the necessary mind state that was required for this solution to work, that was not created. So first you create that mind state and then work on the solution. It works. Difficult to do this when somebody's outside. Easier to do this in a therapy or in a one-on-one setup. And that's why people outside of that consultation don't get results. Very easy to get into that state. Again, a while ago on this podcast, I talked about the story, state, and the strategy. And I'll leave a link to that podcast here. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on a podcasting app, I'll leave a link right in the description section here in the podcast notes section. That's all for now. Try this technique and try to see if you can somehow, while you're recollecting an event from the past, I want you to touch the index finger and feel as if this whole event is kind of forming itself and going into your index finger, right? So somehow make that association of this event and your right hand index finger. So every time you touch that index finger, use that index finger will bring back that memory from the past and fill your mind completely and alters your mind state as a result. Works all the time. Incredible technique. Try it. Let me know how it works. That's all for now. You have a wonderful Friday weekend and I will catch up with you as early as tomorrow. Stay tuned.